The last important tool to be mentioned in relation with UV is the UV editor. Let's open this. When you open the UV editor, let me put it here on the top, you can see this object, which represents the cube that you have at this moment. You can use Alt and click to rotate around this object. And if you select one of the faces here, you can see what is the one that you select on this side. The same way it happens if you select one here, you can see in the map, in the UV map, what is the section that this part is on the map. For me, this is really interesting because even though I can handle all dynamic, let's call it dynamic of the UVs with the previous tools, there is one that in particular calls my attention, which is the transform. Of course, you can play with all of them, but the transform is a particular interesting for me because first, it allows me to play with the scaling, rotation, and translation. What does that mean is that, let's say I want to select this section, but I want to move it to a part of the material that could be, I don't know, on this section. Well, I have the option to, with that translation, to say, well, I'm going to move it in Y. I can move it in up and down. I can move it in X. In fact, I can move it and make it a part of the section of another face. And if I want to repeat exactly how the other face is looking in this one, I can use it by that way. So I'm just putting this section over the other. I'm doing it that way. I am repeating exactly the same materials for these other faces to these faces that are on the top. So playing with this is particularly interesting for me. The same thing, you can use the quick translate, the quick rotate. As I mentioned a moment ago, you can rotate the materials for this one as well. So we can go to here, rotation, and as you can see, we are rotating the materials. And you can see live on this section how the materials is rotating as well. I present you in the other lessons how you can rotate the materials in other parts. But I think that it's important to have this tool that you know that you can also work with this. So keep that in mind. You will define how you're going to play with the different tools of the UV. The last thing I want to mention is, of course, you have the inspect that we have visited before. It is the same thing as if you go to attributes, and inspect is going to provide you a similar information. But in the case that you don't have to go to the attributes, you can go in immediately to the UVs and check and inspect here. And the other thing, same as in the attributes, is that you have the polygroups and you can paint it as we mentioned previously. The thing about the UVs is, like any other tool, try to test it and see what you can discover and how you can work with this.